Renowned as the Middle East's largest solutions provider of integrated facilities is the distinguished Imdaad Group. Imdaad's end goal of enhancing its clients' capabilities is met through turnkey solutions covering a wide range of hard and soft FM services, manpower supply and environmental solutions. Forging the way forward with a highly qualified workforce of over 6,000 multicultural personnel, Imdaad has garnered numerous prestigious accreditations and accolades for labour welfare, as well as quality and reliability of services. This matchless combination of talent and technology makes us a powerhouse of ingenuity and innovation, enabling us to adapt to the changing economic landscape around us. Our range of customized services simplifies the lives of our stakeholders, making us the partner of choice for property managers across the UAE. As we continue to shape and lead the industry, Imdaad takes great pride in counting itself as a powerful contributor to the region's success story. Imdaad Group, leading by example.
Thank you for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our panel titled Riding the Sustainability Wave, Keys to a Sustainable Circular Economy. Please welcome our panelists. Dr. Ali Amiri, Head of Sustainability from Ramboll, Middle East. Engineer Brahmia, Hydrogeologist from Aamaq. Engineer Katherine, Senior Sustainability Consultant from AESG. Engineer Shady Darwish, Deputy Manager from Dams Department, Ministry of Energy and Infrastructure in UAE. Naganandh Lakshmanan, Executive Director, FMS Imdaad. Let's start our discussion with the following questions. Dr. Amiri, what are the challenges and barriers FM practitioners in the Middle East need to overcome?
Thank you, Carolina. From my experience, it's normally two aspects to it. One aspect is it happens quite often that the FM team, who will be in charge of the operation of the building throughout its operational life, are at times not available during the early design phase of the project. So for those projects that we have high aspirations for sustainability targets and high aspiration for an efficient lifespan, operational lifespan for the building, we come up with targets, we come up with mechanisms, we come up with the smart features to be embedded in the design, but then we don't have the FM team from the developer side, from the client side, available at the right time that to advise us that is what is actually their need, what is it that technologies that they're comfortable with and experienced with. And at times it happens that we develop the design, and by the time that the FM team joins, they have different requirements in terms of operation of the building, in terms of operation of the waste system, the energy system, the water systems. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is that it also happens that we do provide a design and do provide a site supervision during the construction. All the features are there, all the investment is made and money is spent, but that transition, that handover from the design and construction to the FM team, that at time is taken lightly, not a proper handover, a proper training is not being carried out. And then again, all these clever systems and features that are incorporated in the design and construction of the built asset are not being implemented properly. And then you will see that, oh, what I expected and envisaged for the building to operate in that particular manner towards whatever that aspiration that we had in terms of efficiency, then these aspirations are not achieved. And finally, I think we came a long way to incorporate BEAM and BEAM 360 into our designs, and also constructors and contractors now came on board and they're comfortable to take over a BEAM model and then make sure that the coordination on site is also carried out to get in line with the BIM coordination and design. But there is still some way to go that the FM team needs to also have a say in the BIM model, and also the requirements for the BIM model and BIM execution should be including all the FM aspects and operational aspects of the building, including the proper tagging and the detailed kind of notes along the line of the various systems, so the FM team, when they need to look after the building and the as-built, they don't have to rely on thousands and thousands of as-built drawings just to find a particular issue in a particular location, so that they can utilize BIM in a way that is more efficient. So yeah, these are the basically three aspects: early involvement, proper handover, and utilizing technology such as BIM to make sure that the building is operating and maintained efficiently.
Yes, that sounds really interesting. As you mentioned, technology and BIM are tools that can help for these, especially during later stages when the savings are the greatest during FM. But as you mentioned, it has to be done properly all the way from the beginning. So now going more into the energy part of this entire FM cycle, Engineer Katherine, could you please share your opinion regarding energy consumption in buildings and how technology can help address current challenges?
Sure. So I think if we go into the buzzword of the circular economy, it's really about taking a linear economy and trying to circularize it by designing out waste and making more use of our resources in an efficient manner that helps reduce energy consumption. And I'd say that the main elements for the facilities management team to look at in terms of reducing energy consumption, first is more of a big picture look at the materials that they're using within the buildings and the building services. And then the second part there is the actual operational energy that they're using in the building. So if we talk about the materials and the building services, now building is made up of many elements that the facilities management team have to maintain over a long period of time: HVAC, lighting, ICT, vertical transportation, and all these elements have an embodied carbon footprint and emissions associated with them. And at the end of the building's life, essentially these materials are just either thrown away, left, the building's demolished, and that's it. And the operating cost and efficiency of those assets actually reduce over a long period of time. I discussed earlier about having a new mobile phone. We upgrade our mobile phones very frequently, but we fail to upgrade a lot of our building services equipment, and as a result, they're very inefficiently operated. So a solution around this is moving towards a sort of product as a service business model, where you have the manufacturers that are responsible for the end of life of that equipment. So we can take lighting, for example. The manufacturer of a lighting equipment would install and service the lighting throughout the operational period of that building's life. And it helps to therefore recycle and reuse that lighting equipment over many cycles, many different buildings. And the benefit of that is that the developer therefore doesn't need to have such a high upfront cost in purchasing equipment like HVAC, lighting, and so on. And the manufacturer is therefore responsible for the end of that product's life. So it helps to tie into the overall sustainability of the equipment. So that's one side. And then the other side is on the actual energy efficiency of the building. And for that, a lot of our projects we do from design through to construction, we have energy models which model the energy consumption of that building and anticipate what the performance will be, how much portion of energy is contributed to HVAC versus cooling, lighting, and so forth. But the problem that the energy model is not often used throughout the operation of the building. So after the end of construction, design team leave, and the energy model is never opened up again for years. And I think a good opportunity for the facilities management team is to access the energy model and be able to recalibrate it on a yearly basis so they can track the energy consumption that's anticipated for that building, and therefore they can identify where there are inefficiencies in their systems and make upgrades as equivalent. And that process can help make the building operate a lot more efficiently.
Yes, that's really interesting. And it's really important, like you mentioned, the energy consumption in buildings, and to keep monitoring it even during the FM stages and not just something that happens more during design or during construction, so at all stages, right? Now, talking about water, because we talked about energy efficiency, what about water efficiency? Engineer Shady, could you please give us more insight into what is being done regarding water use in the UAE?
Thank you, Carolina. Thank you for your introduction. It's a pleasure to me to be with you and our colleague today. I'm going to talk today really about the UAE Water Strategy 2036. As we know, in 2016, the World Economic Forum listed water crisis as one of the 10 global risks which impact the world. UAE faces a lot of challenges in the water sector, especially in the fresh natural water resources and the depletion of groundwater. Also, high demand of water and the high water losses from water distribution network and the low irrigation efficiency. In the UAE, the main renewable fresh water resource is Wadi runoff, which is determined by rainfall and the nature of the terrain. Other sources such as surface and ponds are generally too saline to be the source of water for human activity. To manage this wadi flow and these flash floods, which happen annually, a series of more than 100 dams for flood protection and groundwater recharge was built since 1980. Water security concerns are particularly acute in the UAE. The country is located in one of the most water-scarce regions of the world. And in line with the UAE Vision 2021 and the UAE Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 6, which states that ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Ministry of Energy developed the UAE Water Strategy 2036 in 2017, which we can say it is a roadmap to achieve water security. The strategy was developed in collaboration with more than 30 entities in the water sector and built on previous studies and reference, and also applies the best practice in the country. The aim of the strategy is to enhance water security, planning, and risk management through tools such as the National Water Risk Register and the Integrated Hydraulic Water Network model and the Emergency Impact Simulator. This strategy aims to ensure sustainable access to water during both normal and emergency conditions, in line with local regulation and standards of the World Health Organization and the UAE Vision to achieve sustainability and sustainability. Really, the strategy focuses on 3 main programs: the Water Demand Management Program and the Water Supply Management Program, and the third one is the Emergency Production and Distribution Program. Under normal conditions, the strategy seeks to develop a storage capacity for the water supply systems that last for 2 days. And in case of emergency, it will be able to provide more than 90 liters of water per person per day for more than 2 weeks. And in case of extreme emergency, it will be able to apply 30 liters per person per day for more than 45 days. The overall objective of this strategy is to reduce the total demand for water resources by 21% and increases the water productivity index by 95%. Also increasing the reuse of treated wastewater to 95%. Finally, the output of this strategy is to present a financial sustainability of the water sector compared to the usual situation, and it will achieve saving of about 74 billion dirhams, and it will reduce the emissions of carbon dioxide associated with the water desalination process by more than 100 billion metric tons.
Thank you, Engineer Shady. Now, Engineering, could you share your remarks regarding this topic?
Thank you so much, Engineer Carolina. It's my great pleasure to be with you today. I want just talking about the key role of technology in water security. As you know that there is a global water, which is the results of many causes, like pollution, increasing of rainfall, and flooding, which is brought by climate change. Also, the water scarcity. All these problems require different solutions. So, to address future demand challenge, new technologies need to be incorporated into the development of reliable source of water supply to make real difference. So this technology, such as satellite imagery, Internet of Things, drones, advanced sensors, all this big data also, all this technology can be exploited for better scenario planning and forecasting to improve the resilience at all levels of society, regional, national, and subnational. Also, it helps and demand managing growing water demand, improving the water quality, and also resilience to climate change. In an urban context, for example, remote sensing technology for flooding prediction and comprehensive design tools to hydraulic managing. So all over the world, also sensors and are being deployed into water to collect data related to water flow, water quality and the quantity, as how and where waterways become contaminated from wastewater treatment or from agriculture or rainfall. And to prioritize the remediation strategies accordingly, for example, a new polymer membrane combined with the Internet of Things can continuously analyze data from flow and pressure sensors to determine the best treatment.
Thank you, Engineering. So now that we've addressed the general framework for water sustainability in the UAE, Engineer Katherine, can you please comment how water sustainability strategies in buildings can directly impact it?
Sure, thank you, Carolina. So if we look at the buildings themselves, I think it starts with a good building design. And by that, we need to look at the water balance in the building. So the water, where it's being supplied from and where the water demand is in the building. So the supply of water in the building, typically potable water. But we can look at other ways to get water that has a less carbon footprint. So we can collect condensate water from the HVAC and, systems and cooling in the building. We can collect rainwater from the rainfall that, I know it's short, but when it does happen in the UAE, we can collect that rainwater and reuse it. We can collect grey water, so water from taps and showers. And even in some cases, we can even collect and recycle black water. So there are some sources of water that have less of a carbon footprint. And then designers should then look in the building's water demand. So we have the cooling system, so district cooling typically uses quite a large portion of water. Fittings and fixtures and water features within the building consume water, and then the landscaping, so the external areas within the grounds of the building have water consumption. So once you have all the maps and pieces together, creating a picture, ideally you want to have a circular loop so that you don't actually use additional water, only top-up water. The ideal world, it would be 100% closed-loop system, but very challenging to put in place in practice. But by having these recycling features within the building themselves, it can help to reduce the overall water that's consumed and therefore the demand. The challenge that we typically see is after a building has been designed with all these features, sometimes there's a gap in the operational performance. So we can anticipate how much water will be used in that building. That ultimately, when put in practice, people operate buildings in different ways and people consume water in different ways. So it's very important to have educational features within the building to help users identify that they're perhaps using too much water, perhaps they're showering too long and so on. And then having that technology, so smart meters and smart sensors, can help identify if there's any leaks in the building so that maintenance can fix it on a speedy basis without reducing or wasting water. And then it also can help inform the building owner how much water that they're using on a day-to-day basis, and perhaps identify ways they can reduce their water consumption.
Thank you, Engineer Katherine. So this last question is open to all panelists for response. How technology can help create a sustainable circular economy? Dr. Amiri, maybe you want to start with this one?
How technology can help? Yeah, there are various technologies to, some of which Katherine mentioned about the reuse and recycling of water, to move towards a closing the loop if we can. For the water, for example, there are the technologies for on-site wastewater treatment are becoming more and more common these days. Just that I think at times many of the sustainability rating tools are more focused about reducing potable water demand rather than awarding and encouraging on-site wastewater treatments. They do, like I think in Dubai Green Building we have, it's kind of mandatory to collect condensate and reuse it on site for various purposes, be it landscaping and others. But other means of technologies are smart measures. Smart is here to help with having the buildings more efficient and act and operate more efficiently, be it with the censored lighting and be it with the kind of smart facade systems that could react to minimize the heat gain through the building envelope. So I think there are features, various technologies on insulation, on materials, nanomaterials that now are being looked at to make the building components more and more sustainable and reusable and other technologies such as 3D printing that we are hoping that they could help us with designing more and more deconstructible buildings where we can actually deconstruct our building, the building structure as well as the systems, and to be able to reuse them on another projects. So yes, this circularity is not something that we as this kind of sustainability consultant unilaterally could achieve. That we will need a buy-in from manufacturers, with the product suppliers, with a lot of innovations are required in the way that we think of our design. And one of the areas that Ramboll is trying to push strongly as a group internationally, and also we are trying to encourage local kind of pick up on this is modular construction. That's another thing that we believe, that modular construction for mass production of buildings and built assets could help with a more efficient design and more kind of deconstructible construction, that we could set up a kind of a flexible design using the modular system, provide a development, and then in the future, if the use of the building needs to be modified, the building is flexible enough to be altered into the new use and to be reused elsewhere if needed. So these are the kind of things that the modularities, the material manufacturers, 3D printing, these are the elements, and smart are the elements that I'm thinking they could provide a good push towards circularity of building industry.
Yes, agreed. Does anyone want to add to this response?
I think, sorry, Reem, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much. I want to add a little point that understanding the governance across the water cycle is important if we are going to maximize the value of circular economy thinking. This approach can help us address the key challenges that the world water system face. So a circular economy that has its foundation in sustainability of water use, renewable materials are used where possible. Water is a sustainable manner. Natural systems are preserved and enhanced, and waste and negative impacts are designed out. So maintaining them at their highest possible essential value. Application of circular economy principles can help achieve this, but this will require mapping this interaction of the water cycle, how it's used, and where within the river basin or the urban water cycles value can be extracted and the new enterprise established. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Engineer Rim. Mr. Nag, what are the most important steps organizations can take to improve their energy efficiency?
There are a number of steps that an organization can take to improve the energy efficiencies of their premises. This is becoming a more of a priority for all kinds of company, particularly as firms are trying to reduce operating costs in the current economic climate. One of the most important considerations is to ensure all equipment are installed or properly serviced, maintained in line with the original equipment manufacturer recommendation based on their usage, international and regional best practices. This ensures that assets are working in optimum level, and this leads to considerable energy savings and creates a more comfortable environment for the occupants as well as protect the assets. A building management system or an IoT sensor connected to a remote monitoring station or a smart metering system can be used to monitor energy consumption across an entire business. At Imdaad, our energy engineers use a sophisticated system to analyze live data and keep track of clients' energy saving targets and asset efficiencies. This helps our customers to focus on their core business and forecast their upcoming energy bills and meet energy saving targets, as well as quickly rectify errors if a piece of equipment is not performing to the required standard. Also, Imdaad has used artificial intelligence-based monitoring tools and have implemented IoT-based sensor in legacy equipment to monitor the energy and energy efficiency of the equipment in its portfolio. The data we generate using these systems enable our team to reprogram or retune the systems, such as an automatic lighting or air conditioning set point and hot and cold water temperatures, so that the systems can perform with maximum efficiency. This has added to the benefit of reducing unnecessary stress on the mechanical systems and extend their life. Another key factor is to ensure that premises adhere to all applicable local building regulations and specifications. Internationally recognized green building standards are also increasingly becoming important. As you can see, around 1,100 projects in UAE are now LEED certified, which is the global green standard in energy and resource efficient buildings. Based on our experience, a small initial outlay involved in arranging an energy audit can pay dividend in the long run. Imdaad's team of energy professionals is highly experienced in the design and implementation of solutions that meet client-specific needs. By analyzing how our customers use energy, we can identify both easy wins and bigger projects with long-term payoff. This allows the clients to make informed, data-driven decisions when formulating their energy strategies.
Thank you. Now, with everything that has happened this year, have there been any challenges in maintaining energy efficiency as a result of the global COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, the global pandemic has brought with it many challenges across all aspects of our lives across the world. As far as maintaining energy efficiency goes, we have witnessed significant shifts in the consumption patterns. While energy consumption may have gone down when public areas were closed, where offices were closed, it also increased for some households due to the rise of remote working. This can be the result of people using the AC more at home during the day, for instance. So as far as maintaining efficiency goes, there has been some recalibration required in order to adjust the evolving situation. One area in which FM industry is ahead of the game is that modern building management systems can handle majority of the issues or the energy consumption remotely with no need for physical attendance. In fact, when we analyzed our data over a month-long period, we found that Imdaad systems were able to remotely monitor 90% of the faults with no human intervention or no human monitoring required. This certainly goes a long way to overcome any challenges related to social distancing requirements. In cases where our team do have to attend in person, Imdaad was quick to take decisive action and implement a full range of safety measures. This has enabled us to continue to serve our clients' needs without interruption. Imdaad manages some of the top banks in UAE, and all our proactive measures has helped so that the client's business are not interrupted. Also, according to the International Energy Agency, energy efficiency is said to play a vital role in economic recovery from the impact of COVID-19. The challenge is that as much as 2/3 of this potential is likely to remain untapped. Here in the UAE, energy consumption has been growing at an average growth of 4% per year over the past 6 years. By optimizing efficiency, business can reap the benefits of reduced cost while also making a positive contribution to the future of our environment. This is why we must step up our efforts and do all we can as an industry to encourage organizations to control their energy consumption.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nag. These are all very interesting insights regarding energy consumption, efficiency, and the challenges with the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us in our panel, and looking forward to meeting you in the future.
Well, thank you to the panel for that discussion. That was a great insight and interesting conversation. So thank you. Dr. Ali, I've got a question for you. You mentioned that FMs are not available during the early design stage of the projects, which is affecting the sustainability drivers through transition, through handover and into in operation. And I guess that from a contractor's point of view, contractors are quite keen to hand over the keys. From an FM's point of view, they're getting engaged too late. How do you see that we start to close off these gaps? And because there is a cost in FMs becoming early involvement in a project, where's the recognition of cost? Is it from an investor's perspective?
Yeah, in general, sustainability is about the wider picture. It's about the life cycle impact of whatever we do, the impact that we have now on the future generations or end users that deal with whatever we leave with them for the later. So we do have to have that kind of wider perspective of our design and the impact of our design. So not having the FM guys who are the very people who will look after this design for the life cycle of that built asset, it's to me is a big gap that it happens quite often that we do ask for the FM team from some of the clients. Some clients, they do have it, they're quite engaged, and the outcome is that when we do design buildings these days with the smart technologies that are in place that others in the panel have talked and will talk about a bit more, but we do come up with all these clever measures in our design and then even in construction, but then there is this disconnect at times between the handover and the FM team to come and take it over and make sure that they are implementing those measures in a way that were intended. I know that there are manuals, handbooks, etc., but this conversation, this dialogue, this engagement right from the beginning is invaluable. It does come up with some costs at times. They might have come up with ideas that why don't we do this, that, the other. For example, at times they might ask for quite onerous beam tagging exercise that will make life. But all of this, just a quick example, that when they come and ask for smart tagging of all the equipment, all the ducts or all the measures across the buildings structure and sometimes it's associated with some capital cost right at the beginning, but what it happens is that when later on during the life cycle of the building you face with a maintenance issue, you need to cut down a ceiling somewhere to deal with a problem, you have a very smart, localized tagging system. You know, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. I need to go to that location. This is a kind of localized treatment of the problem, and that will save cost. That will save in terms of sustainability. The level of disruption and material consumption and waste generation during the life cycle of your building is minimized and controlled because of this kind of a little bit of work and a little bit of investment upfront, but you're saving a lot during the life cycle of your building. So from investors' point of view, I would say that more and more these days we do get from our major clients and major developers the query within the design brief that they want to know the life cycle cost analysis or the life cycle impact of our design, and that inevitably engages the FM team in the conversation. And actually, I'm quite pleased to see that, and every time that we're faced with the issue, and we are getting better and better at it as well, together with our client.
That's good. I mean, I guess my background is from the supply side of FM. I'm working in my day job for a construction part of a construction entity. I'm fully aware of, or I think we're all aware of the fact that constructors have the issues with the handover part. FMs have the issue in terms of things not being set up or need to be changed, I guess, once handed over. And I think that everyone is on the same space. It's just that we do all need to come together and get these fixed. So
a lot of this is agreed. Like the knowledge is there, the know-how is there, the technology you guys bring to the table. So it's just that we need to ensure, and we do talk a lot about it, the integrated design approach, the integrated project team approach, but we really need to walk the talk and act in an integrated manner together with the technology suppliers, with those who are taking over and with those who are handing over. That's the only thing that everything is the know-how and the technology and the team are there. It's just that we really need to manage that integrated approach.
We're all willing and wanting to get this together, so maybe we'll find a project that we can
with social distancing, but
absolutely. I mean, I think Katherine, I mean, you mentioned it during the presentation, some really interesting points which I resonate with and I think is worth just highlighting. And you talk about this circular procurement economy, about products and being recycled and suppliers having a responsibility to take back over-ordered, unused materials. Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Sure. So I think there's still a big challenge to get to that business model, but we have seen it now in lighting. So lighting as a service, particularly companies like Philips are moving towards that model, where it's a lower investment for the end user because they just rent essentially the lighting. It gets replaced when the lighting is at its end of life. We also see it in furniture. So there's a few take-back models. IKEA is now doing this option where if you have IKEA furniture, you can IKEA will buy it back at the end of its life. But more from the rental perspective, there's still some gaps there. And particularly in construction industry, we see that the construction of the building where there's a lot of waste, there has been a lot of opportunities to reuse and recycle construction waste during construction. So in Europe, there are a lot of marketplaces now where you can actually log in and look at materials that are available in a secondhand market to be reused. I think where the big gap is that buildings that are installed with all these materials, contractor leaves, done the job, you've got this building with all these materials inside, and the end user doesn't actually have traceability of what those materials are. So in 60 years time, when you come to deconstruct that building, you have all these materials, but you might not necessarily know what spec they are, what they could be reused for. I think that's where there should be a lot of focus in innovation. How can we track materials in years to come? They have QR codes and scanning and so on, but 60 years time, that technology might have moved on and it might be something else. So we need to think ahead.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Think ahead, and I think there's been a lot of good articles and resources on the topic. So we really recommend looking at the UK Green Building Council. They recently published their circular economy for the construction industry resource package, I think back in April. So definitely a good site to have a look and read more information about it.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that you mentioned there is about construction, surplus material during construction. One of the things that we do also see is attic stock. And what you find is that attic stock coming through that's handed over to FMs to manage. A lot of the stock is actually going to become obsolete by the time it's in use. So you find that because of that ordering process that's required, you tend to find that attic stock is put into storage and could quite easily sit there for 8-10 years and not even be used. So I think some of this is about the whole supply chain and the whole ordering process. So that's great. That I do appreciate your contribution there. Dr. Ali, forgive me, I am aware that you need to nip off, and so feel free to drop off the call as you see fit. But I've got a couple of questions for Carolina and Naga. So by all means, drop off the call. And on personal
enjoyed the
note,
conversation. Thank you very much.
And me too. Thank you for your contribution. Carolina, I mean, from a sustainability point of view, I mean, how do you see that technology and data can help FMs to be able to manage their buildings more effectively from a sustainability perspective?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting what you were just talking about stock, and Katherine was mentioning materials. So what we do with technology and with common data environments is we harvest all the data from pre-construction, design, pre-construction, construction, and then towards facilities management. And having a common data environment is basically one single source of truth for all the team throughout the project and even through the operation stage. And the interesting part of this concept is that if it's properly done, you can achieve what is now being called digital twin, which is basically the copy of what you're building in the site, but in a digital matter. So you can control these materials, even stock. You wouldn't need stock. You would have a 3D model saying this duct is from this provider or these lights are from Philips, like Katherine was mentioning. And then whenever something needs replacement, it's all smart. All the data is there. So maybe you could even raise a purchase order from the model. I mean, that would be the dream, right? But these are things that are achievable if the information and the data is stored properly and maintained throughout the different phases of the project.
Yeah, okay, interesting. And Nag, I think that from your point of view as Imdaad, from Imdaad's perspective, just tell me a little bit about the technologies that Imdaad have implemented from a sustainability perspective within your project and how you're managing to drive this forward as an FM service provider.
Yeah, Imdaad is one of the leading FM company. We have a latest state-of-the-art building to a legacy building which are 15 to 20 years old. We have chillers which are 25 years old to 2 years old. So we are trying to use technology to manage sustainability part of different types of projects which we win. We are trying to create using an IoT system, IoT platform, energy tickets. People speak about corrective, reactive, predictive using ML or whatever, AI. But we are trying to see I can say a typical example, Deva. If you have a Deva app, it will show there's a sudden spike in the water usage or the energy usage. So we are trying to, for legacy assets, which are not energy efficient, we are trying to create using the IoT technology to create energy alerts. So the energy alerts gets us converted as a work order. We are trying to see what has gone wrong, things are going to fail, or there's a abnormal energy consumption due to any other things. So we are trying to use harness the power of technology in different types of assets which are old and which are not smart to see how we can contribute to the sustainability and the efficiency part of the equipment.
It's interesting you say this, Nag. I guess that the issue of technology, digitalization, sustainability, all these three subjects are massive in their own right. And I suppose the question is how we can tailor them down to be more focused, to be able to help us develop and be more progressive. So I think that it's been a really interesting panel discussion. And Carolina, thank you very much indeed for hosting the panel. Thank you very much indeed for our panelists for being on board. It's much appreciated, and thank you very much indeed for your time.